Okay, thank you. Let's continue with this meeting. So we will try to catch up sometime since we are a little bit behind the schedule, and therefore I will be really quickly going through my presentation or presenting you the European fitness map that was created based on already mentioned data. And this, now we are starting the session to addressing policymakers. So second part of FitBack platform is devoted to support policymakers. Of course, you will encourage them as teachers, as researchers, to establish physical fitness monitoring, and FitBack provided some valuable information how to start and then continue developing monitoring system. And maybe first interesting information for policymakers would be where their nation, country is if we compare these children and youth to other European countries. So this physical fitness map is in interactive form. You can find it here in the tab Fitness Map. So we have all the tests within AlphaFit test battery that we already showed you before. You can choose both sexes or just male and female. And here you can, on the right side, you can choose to see the mean percentile or percentage of fit or unfit children. So for instance, if we look for a cardiorespiratory fitness and choose percentage of fit children, there is a green colored scale here, and you can see that those with dark green are the most fittest one, and those with the last green, there are unfit children. So I clicked now on as a mean centile, and you can see here also we have a different scale. So from this this red, yellow, green zone. And then we can actually choose one country, for instance, Spain. We can choose to Spain, get more detailed information about how big is the population and what percentage of this age group, so children and adolescents, is represented in population. And also we have here link to data sources which were presented also by Fran. So there is a reference which data we actually collected from Spain to prepare or to compare with other countries. And you can see also here that Spain ranks 19 out of 30 European countries with available data on shuttle run. And there is a percentage of around 20% of children with high risk and 25% with moderate risk from the Spain. So this is the actually idea behind this fitness map. And of course, we can see for each country, because we have some participants from Serbia. Here you can see Serbia in cardiorespiratory fitness is ranking also poorly. We can also refer to this data, and also we can see, for instance, for Croatia here, they are performing a little bit better, but you can see that the best are performing Iceland and so Nordic countries, and also Slovenia is in pretty good shape. This was also presented previously by Fran on his slide. So you can actually browse on this fitness map to see and to show also policymakers, and this is the part of answer also for Inga from Lithuania. She's a good friend working on the ministry in Lithuania. She's really struggling for years to establish Lithuanian national monitoring physical fitness system, and actually they supposed to start it in the year of COVID. And because of COVID, they have a delay on this. But of course, her question was about how to actually convince the policymakers that this is necessary. So first step could be to show them the actual state of the art. So what is the status of physical fitness in their country if we compare to health risk criteria as well as to other peers in Europe. So now we will actually go to another part of Europe, to Professor Sardinha, who will present our next speech. So I would like to ask our technicians to give him access. And can you open here the Zoom on this to see him? So I will present shortly Luis. He is also the member of our consortium, together with all his colleagues. Today, João is here. He was very much involved in this project. But Luis is a dean and full professor of exercise prescription and functional body composition and energy regulation at the Faculty of Human Kinetics, University of Lisbon. Is one of the most cited scientists on fitness research and also the head of Fitescola, so Portuguese National Fitness Surveillance System. So because he couldn't join us today, therefore he will present us the European best practices in fitness monitoring system from Lisbon. Hello, Luis.
Hello, Gregor.
Hello.
It's really nice to be here with you. I'm sorry for not making the conference in Ljubljana. I'm missing a very nice city. But anyway, here I am for my talk. So can I share my screen?
Yes. Please. Okay.
Is that okay?
You have to put it in the presentation mode.
Presentation mode. How come where is the presentation mode?
Maybe just F5 or at the bottom, right bottom, you have. If not, then just go through this mode. We can see and no worries.
No worries about that?
No, just.
Okay, let's start. I am here just try to similar to you in the podium. I am here with a standing desk.
Luis, just to check one thing. Can you go to next slide that we to actually see if we can follow your slides?
Can you see the slides?
Can you go to next slide? Just please go to next slide.
This is the first slide.
Yeah, can you go to second slide, please?
This is the second one.
Okay, then we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem.
Can you please just restart, click on the share button and then click new share and then select screen 1 or screen 2, depends where you have your presentation currently on. And then we will see your slides processing. You need to access the Zoom controls. Usually you have just to hover your mouse on the top of your screen.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, João will help a little bit in Portuguese.
Professor, só sai da apresentação, da parte do Zoom. Sai da apresentação do Zoom. Interrompa a visualização.
Calma.
Quando fizer share, faça share no screen 2. no seu ecrã 2, porque...
Já pus
Ah,
aqui.
é só isso.
Eu fechei o outro screen. All participants.
Quando fizer share screen, faça no ecrã 2, onde está a aparecer a sua apresentação. Que é esse o problema.
Pois, mas agora já percebi que...
Só share screen, professor.
Espera.
Yeah. Mamo. So, Luis,
Just one moment. I'm trying to... And now?
yes, great. Yeah. You managed. We can continue.
Just hearing the João's voice inspired me. Okay. So I'm sorry for not being able to be with you in Ljubljana, but let's go straight to the topic of my presentation that will address the European best practice in fitness monitoring systems. So first, we have 7 monitoring systems that are going on in Europe, and those from Slovenia, Finland, Portugal, Hungary, and also from Serbia. Then outside the FitBack consortium, we have also monitoring systems from Lithuania and from France. And on the top of that, let's say a part just near Portugal, on the north of Portugal, from Galicia, also with, let's say, a more recent monitoring system. Now, I'm going through the different parts of that the FitBack consortium did, going through the SWOT analysis, including these, let me, the pointer options, span. Okay, so going to the lunch, through the lunch here, design materials, what is the relation with the physical education classes? What about the reference values? The reference values are normative or are health-related reference values? What are the stakeholders, the test items, and also the data collection? Here is the example where you can find, the audience can find this SWOT analysis in the FitBack platform. Then we have, let's say, the Slow Fit platform that has been developed as a national, on the top of a national surveillance system for physical activity and motor development in children and youth, and is based on Slovenia, and it was launched on 1982 with over than 10.5 million sets of measurements, and those numbers were considered until 2019. Then you have the good practice in Finland with the project MOVE, and a state in this slide. It is based on the Finnish National Agency for Education, and the core basically is to develop education and training in early childhood, and also education for a lifelong approach. Then you have the well-known NetFit project that, if I understand well, is somehow at the very beginning, at least the very beginning, with a very close collaboration by the Cooper Institute in Dallas that developed the FitnessGram, with what was launched on 2015, and with a lot of data, over than 5 million data points. And based on the NetFit, let me remember, I was in Budapest on the day that the Cooper Institute visited the team that is leading this program. And there is one part of that meeting, because, by the way, I was in Academy of Science presenting a talk within the scope of the Exercise is Medicine project. But there is one thing that I remember from that meeting, and that's someone from the Cooper clinics state that in the United States, the principals, there is an association that includes the principals from the high schools, at a meeting with people from different companies, and the people from these companies were asking the principals to have fit people after leaving the schools. Because why? Why? Because they want to be a better workforce. So that's interesting. That's sometimes you are within the scope of the educational system. Sometimes you are within the scope of the sports system. But the pressure in this time, in order to have a better surveillance systems and fitter kids, came from outside, from the business itself. That is something that gives a more holistic approach of this major goal to have kids with better health, in this case, with better fitness indicators. In Portugal, we have the Fit Scholar program. Fit Scholar program, we have about, at this stage, a little bit over that, than 6 million data points. It was launched on 2016, but it was, let's say, a second generation of our program, because at the very beginning, it was based on the FitnessGram, that at that time, several years ago, we bought the rights to implement in Portugal the FitnessGram, but then we figured out that it would be better to have our own platform in order to address the major issues that were raised by the PE teachers on the schools. Here, that's one example. So what's going on in France with the diagonal form that was launched in 2010. So with a little bit over 31,000 children, just with age between 5 and 15 years. We have also, as I mentioned, the National Physical Fitness Surveillance System in Serbia that was launched in 2017. And also another good practice, I would say, in Lithuania that was launched on 2020. And then also in a region of Spain, Galicia, that's one approach that the schools are able to use this platform to look at physical fitness monitoring in Galicia, Spain, from 2012. Then basically all the countries have a mission statement that basically looks at the monitoring system to improve health and physical literacy, and also based on the assessment of physical fitness. In Portugal, somehow, because physical fitness is not just dependent on training, but also we know that is based also on genetics. That's why in the Fit Scholar program, we have one more part in a mission that is to assess physical activity and sedentary behavior. If you look at the age ranges and the operational time, so we have a different approach. In Portugal, we go from 6 to 9 years old. In Serbia, from 9, 19. In Finland, from 11, 14. And from Slovenia, from 6, 19. In Spain, from 5, 17. France, over 5 years. And similar in Lithuania, and then in Hungary, over 10 years. So basically, most of the countries use a 1-year assessment approach. In Serbia, there is a 2-year assessment periods. In Portugal, you have, let's say, we decide to have 5, just to have to provide flexibility for the schools. We know that 5 assessments per year, it's not feasible and it's not necessary at all. But anyway, we provide these opportunities to the schools. Then we need to address 2 questions. First, is really the monitoring, the physical fitness assessment is mandatory in the physical education curriculum, and if it is also mandatory to report physical fitness to the different, in this case, for the government. And basically, I would say that in Portugal, Serbia, Finland, Slovenia, France, Lithuania, and Hungary, physical fitness assessment is a major part, I would say one important part, and it is mandatory within the scope of the physical education curriculum. When it comes to if it is mandatory, so we have here 4 countries that are able to ask the teachers must report, and that's the case for Serbia, Finland, Slovenia, and Hungary. And this is really important. This is really important because we in Portugal, our government didn't decide yet about this. But anyway, we expect that in the near future, it will be important to have this part of the program to be mandatory, because it's the way how PE teachers can also collaborate in order to have better data all over the country for the government, for the schools, for the Ministry of Education to come up with better public policies. Then the next question is, to whom this data is available? Students, parents, and teachers. And all the platforms provide information for the students, parents, and teachers. That's really great to address, to provide these informations to not just only students, but also to parents. This is one example for NetFit. So here we have, let's say, basically those that are in the fitness zone as compared to those that are not on the fitness, on the fit zone, excuse me, on the fit zone, and then some figures regarding of the situation that is on the NetFit database. Similar here with the same values, with some addressing age range, the region, and also information dedicated for a specific city. This is also information, excuse me, this is from NetFit, so that means from Hungary. This is information from SlowFit, again, with a very nice profiling of the fitness situation of the kids, those that are in the health risk zones, and also with some message for the kids, and with this possibility of just seeing the information from the current year as compared with the previous year, and also with nice information how to look, how to interpret the results that the kids and the parents themselves can, let's say, how they can interpret the data, because this is really important information for instance, for some parents that they do not have, let's say, literacy enough in order to understand the information that is on these reports. This is information from our part of the information in our Fit Scholar program, in which you, for instance, we have, for instance, those that are, in Portugal, we have 3 levels. Those that needs improvement, those that they are in the healthy zone, and those that are on the, let's say, in the sports related zone. But for this case, we are just presenting the mean for one class, for instance, that those that needs improvement in this case, and those that are in the healthy zone. So, but besides this kind of information, we have also information regarding the national mean. So that means that we have data from the first wave of our national surveillance system that was set up on 2008. We are on the stage to change this data based on the second wave of our national surveillance system that was developed on 2018. So that means 10 years later. And here on the left, you can see the value for BMI, for waist circumference, for cardiorespiratory fitness, and then you have the value, the individual value, for instance, for cardiorespiratory fitness. Then we have for the class, for the school, and for the national mean. So that means each student can have his own value as compared with the class, the school, and the whole country. Now, when it comes to the reporting to the government, again, you have several different official data. So it means that in Finland and Slovenia, here we have official information. The same happens, official information for the schools in Finland and Slovenia. And the third country with similar information is Hungary. In Portugal, we have the information, but the data is available. What we said as an upon request, and sometimes is used, but it's not organized in a very official way that is supposed to be called as one official report every year. Then I am about to finish. This is the information about the different tests in the different countries. I'm not going in detail, but all countries we have cardiorespiratory fitness. In most of the countries, we have lower body strength. I would say also that in most of the countries, we have upper body strength, and so on and so on and so on. So that means that most of the countries address the different indicators of physical fitness, but basically that's, I would say, the landscape regarding what's going on in the different countries to cardiorespiratory fitness, to neuromuscular function, including flexibility and strength, and also regarding some skills, balance, and body composition. Now, I think this is one important point, is how the different countries organize the definition for what is the fit zone, the healthy zone. So basically, all countries have normative data. So this normative data, as you know, is dependent on the sample distribution. And that's something that you need to be careful with that, because it's very much dependent on secular trends. And for instance, nowadays, one cutoff point can be a very specific one, but 10 years later can be another value. So, but anyway, that's a nice approach. And it seems that right now that's a major move. And that I would say that's a fantastic move for Europe to have new values based on the presentation that Fran did this morning, all putting together data from different countries in Europe. That's a major move. But there are 3 countries, Portugal, Hungary, and the Galicia, a part of Spain in Galicia, that we use health-related values. So what does that mean? Values that are based on the identification, what is really the cutoff at which there is an inflection, there is one increase in the so-called cardiovascular risk factors. That was, let's say, designed at the very beginning by the FitnessGram in the United States, and we use them in Portugal, and Hungary uses also this kind of approach, and it seems that Spain and Galicia also use this kind of approach. So in Portugal, these both approach normative and health-related, because we think that as long as we have criterion, so health-related, it's great. Probably in 10 years or 15 years, or why not 5 years, it will be a great project to have health-related approach based on European kids. Okay, but also having this approach with American kids, no problem at all. No problem at all, because I would say that this kind of approach is not really dependent on the place of the globe. So, but anyway, I think that even those criteria should be let's say, to address some of the pitfalls from the very beginning. But at this stage, that's what the situation that we have in Europe. All the systems provide tutorial videos. This is really important, and manual for the users. In France, this is one example with some resources in order to improve health literacy and some fact sheets. In Portugal, we put a lot of effort on this. We have addressed this for, in this case, for physical fitness, for physical activity, for sedentary behavior, for sports, for hydration, for some pedagogical materials, for nutrition, and for well-being. So basically, it's one example of our platform in order to provide some information and to improve literacy about physical activity, to physical fitness. And that's something that's also important for parents and for the concept of the old school approach. Here, these are some examples of two platforms that we have developed. I think that's the way to go, because in Portugal, the teachers say that it takes a lot of time to make the assessments. And we developed one app in which it's possible for the teachers to make the different tests, the different assessments, and then the informations go right away for the platform. So something that some years ago, the teachers were supposed to get the information in, let's say, in one sheet, then go into a spreadsheet, and afterwards go to the platform. Then with the app, with a very simple app, they can do the assessments, and the information goes right away. And based on that, we are also providing some information in order for the kids to know the values of each other if they allow, and then also to have some kind of information what's their energy expenditure every day. So that's the case here. How many steps they do per year with a smartphone, in this case, how many kcals they spend, and then also how many kilometers they spend walking or running and so on. So the idea is really to have a broader approach in order to have them more active traveling, to do more physical activity, and somehow that can improve also besides what they do in the physical education class, besides what they do in the sports club and so on. This kind of activities and this energy expenditure can somehow improve their fitness. Then just to finish up, I want to acknowledge the work of some of my students, João, Megan, Inês, and Gil Batista. But I want just to leave a very final word. It seems that we are in the verge of a really big move for the recognition of physical education all over Europe. Because I understand that these physical fitness monitoring systems will change this. And the contribution from the FitBack consortium is really important. Not just because of the different tools that were developed. But I think that the contribution from the group in developing the new landscape, what's going on in Europe, but more important still is to provide harmonized information, reference values for all over Europe. And I can foresee the vision of some people that several years ago start pushing this important part of the physical education curriculum will very much contribute for the what I usually say, it's the social norm of understanding the important role of physical education, including principals, including our colleagues from other disciplines in the schools, including the parents, including even the politicians. They want always to have some kind of figures, and why not? Sometimes comparing the different countries, and which sometimes each country wants to be better than the other, even though I understand this is not the core, this is not the major mission, I would say, of the PE classes. But I can foresee that in the near future, the contribution of the FitBack program will be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luis. I hope we will see you next time in person. So we are now moving to next presenter, and this is Tuija Tammelin. It's my pleasure to introduce her. Actually, Tuija was for many years research director at LICES with expertise in exercise psychology, epidemiology of physical activity and fitness during the life course. For those who don't know LICES is a research institute over there. Now they actually merged with the University of Applied Science, JAMK, so they are working now there. She has extensive experience overseeing physical fitness measurements in Finland, together with her team, especially Laura Joensuu. She led tasks which determined features of best practice in fitness monitoring to identify key steps to establish a fitness monitoring system. And actually, he will explain us this part of work of FitBack. So, Tuija, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Gregor, for this introduction. And this presentation is how to establish a fitness monitoring system into your country if you don't yet have one. So in our FitBack project, we prepared guidelines for this purpose. And in this presentation, I will introduce the content of these guidelines and the SWOT analysis related to this process, how to establish a monitoring system. So the final guideline document with 27 pages is freely available at FitBack web pages. And these guidelines have been prepared together with the representatives from those 5 countries that already have going on national physical fitness monitoring system. And these countries were Slovenia, Hungary, Portugal, Serbia, and Finland. And so the guidelines document presents 10 steps, 10 main topics that are relevant to this issue. And document also includes some practical examples and case studies related to these topics, and these examples comes from these 5 countries. And the content of these 10 steps is formed based on expert opinions, and they are also supported by the following SWOT analyses that we have done together. So first, I will summarize the results of the SWOT analysis and try to describe what can be the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats related to establishing this kind of monitoring system. So first of all, strong scientific basis and pedagogical theory behind the new monitoring system can be considered as a strength for this kind of system. And good practice of fitness monitoring system is that it can be used. It's feasible to be used in school setting and serves as a practical tool for many, many professionals. And the topic that monitoring of several different kind of fitness characteristics is also a strength for this kind of system. It is possible to see some weaknesses during setting this kind of monitoring system. Implementation may be time-consuming, and it may be that the system is not well taken, not adapted by professionals. Or professionals don't have enough know-how, they haven't got enough training how to use the system. And there may be difficulties to evolve the system. There may be lack of funding. There may be lack of information how to use it, or too complex administration. However, good fitness monitoring system provides many opportunities for us. And it offers opportunities to develop fitness, health literacy, and physical education. And it also offers opportunity to identify those children and the families who need special support in these issues. And by this kind of monitoring system, we can create new information and knowledge and use that information in our decision making in our countries or in our municipalities. However, it's good to realize that it is possible that the system is unable to operate too. Funding may be insufficient or intermittent, and even changes in legislation can determine the use of the system or can terminate the use of the system. And it's also possible that philosophy that this kind of measuring system, monitoring system, it's not adapted by PE teachers or stakeholders. It is also possible that political support may vary over time, and there may also be some reputational crises related to these issues. And it may be that all actors, all stakeholders don't want this kind of system to operate. It's good to prepare on this too. However, in this project, we have created guidelines to highlight the most common and most relevant issues that could be taken into account when trying to develop physical fitness monitoring system for children and adolescents. And we have created this kind of 10 steps in infograph, and this is also available at FitBack webpage. So I introduce these 10 steps shortly. First of all, it is very important to set up clear mission statements, clear aims for the monitoring system. So this makes it easier for all the stakeholders that they have a common understanding what are the aims of the system. And second, it's necessary to involve different kind of stakeholders in the planning and developing this work. So this means involvement in teachers, PE teachers, students, their parents, and healthcare professionals into this process. And it is also important that monitoring system is created based on research results, and it provides reliable results and reliable feedback for individuals. And feedback at population level as well. So strong scientific background for this kind of monitoring system do convince stakeholders and decision makers better. And then step number 4, blue box upright, is to define the structure for the governance of this system. So it's essential to find and define the key players in this area, to define their responsibilities, relations, and process for decision maker in this monitoring system. Step number 5 is also important, to ensure the sufficient funding for the system, and funding is needed not only to establish, to develop the system, but also to maintain it, keep it going. Next, we need a plan for data management. We have to make a plan how personal data will be collected, how it will be produced, and how it will be secured within the monitoring system. And system it's not only for just measuring and monitoring, but the feedback is an essential part of this too. So we need a meaningful and user-friendly feedback for all stakeholders, as discussed before. After make this good planning phase, we need some piloting, step number 8. So we need pilot testing for all the system, just to confirm that it is feasible for the society and for the schools. And this is for the testing and also for the feedback system. And after this, we can continue to wider implementation of the system. And for this purpose, we need to provide training, we need to provide material for key personnel and information for stakeholders at different levels. And continuous support, like help desk services, is very valuable during this kind of implementation. And last but not least, we need to invest in communication. We need a lot of communication at different levels. communication with stakeholders and general public to keep process going well, and the mission clearly in mind. And in these guidelines, we have also provided some tips and examples how to do it, and or how we have tried to do it in certain countries. So this is a quick introduction, and you will find more details in these 10 steps from the guideline document. And we also did some pilot testing for this process by ourselves, and asked feedback on the feasibility of the web pages that are presenting this 10 steps information. And 13 policymakers from 6 different countries provided us feedback. They participated in this piloting, and they found this web page quite good and give quite positive feedback. A kind of self-evaluation for us too. So finally, I want to acknowledge all the colleagues from different countries who have contributed and co-created these guidelines and steps together. And especially I want to thank my Finnish colleague Laura Joensuu here for her strong contribution to this guideline as the first author of the guideline document. And all the team, we hope that these practical steps, examples, and solutions provided at the webpage and in the guideline documents, they will help the other countries to create their own physical fitness monitoring system or develop the one they have already. Thank you.
Hello again. I promise I'm here for the last time. So the third round of our brain break. So now just flags from the countries without the movement. And before we start, I will just remind everyone that the sightseeing tour lasts 2 hours of the old town of Ljubljana, and the taxi, so transportation, goes only to one direction. So you end up in Ljubljana city center. And if everyone still needs a taxi last minute, please let us know as soon as possible. Okay, and now some movement. So Croatia, a little dance. Okay, Slovenia. Okay, next, Finland, cross-country skiing. Hungary, swimming, forward, and backwards. And Portugal. Yes. Next, Spain. Moving on to Slovenia again. And backwards. Estonia. Serbia. Yeah, everyone. I forgot. Portugal. European Union. You have been counting. And Ukraine and Russia. And Estonia. And final one, Finland. Two more. Okay, great. We made it to the finish. Good job, everyone.
Actually, we came to finish, yes. Okay, thank you, Tanja, and our demonstrators. Okay, I see that this movement break is really fine also to speak a little more. Now it's my pleasure to introduce a friend from Italy. So Attilio Carraro is full professor at University of Bolzano, Faculty of Education. And based on rich experience of his team on motivation for physical activity and implementing novel approaches, he was responsible for piloting FitBack solutions. So he will give us some insight how we actually tested our solutions on target users. So Attilio, floor is yours.
I'm coming with me.
Okay, no, you have to. You have to do volleyball.
Yeah, no, maybe sleeping in Italy is the favorite sport. Okay, but yeah, you have to know that I miss the good old time with facial mask, and so this is the reason why I'm not able to speak without now. And saying that Gregor said, the floor is yours, and not the screen is yours is something fantastic, Gregor. And you have to know also that he recommended me at least a 45 minutes presentation. So don't worry for this. I'm ready. And at the end, I would, no, nothing. I'm clapping. You have to stand. I'm checking your activity. Nothing. You have to work more. So here we are now. First of all, out of a joke, I would like to thank a lot the friend Gregor Jurak, the colleague Gregor Jurak, all his team here at the University of Ljubljana, because they are doing a great job in managing this project. A great job. It is clear after looking at the presentation, what they did in managing. I think I can say that it was one of the best managed project in my academic life. So thank you a lot. And now this is just for clapping. I'm ready to move here. Okay, what we did here, and the question is why assessing web page usability in such a kind of project? And it is a question on how to do. We had a number of excellent presentations this morning about what to do, but the topic is also how to do, how to manage the feasibility, the effectiveness, the workability of what we created. And this is the way why we did this. We tried to assess the web page usability, and you can read there, the usability of a website is a fundamental component of the entire reusability experience of the users. It's something absolutely important if you want to change the status quo of the system. And what we did, we organized a two-steps assessment. In the first round, it was done 1.5 years ago, approximately. It is in 4 countries, but we have no time to speak about the first round, but we are preparing a paper about this topic. If you are curious, we can share information about the paper on the FitBack webpage. I'm now going to introduce the second round of the web page usability. We did starting from March, April, May, this period, with a number of PE teachers from different countries. Here you have a country, Croatia, Estonia, Italy, Serbia, Slovenia, Spain. And What is interesting is that we decided to check the usability in both countries with and without a system for monitoring physical fitness in youth, in children and adolescents. And you can see in red the total number. We had not a so large group of sample, 127, the mean age is 46 and so on, and almost 19 years of teaching experience. So we are speaking of expert teachers. And yeah, this is again about the sample. We had some question about their self-assessment of digital skills. And it is interesting noting that the great part, almost 80% of participants were evaluating good or excellent their expertise in using digital skills, but we still have almost 20% of teachers who seem, they are asking more preparation for using digital tools. And this is another interesting question. It is about how often per week do you use a tablet, notebook, PC for teaching purposes? And again, here, there is something to do in terms of introducing the digital skills, digital instruments, tools, and so on. Okay, this is a part of our questionnaire. We created ad hoc a questionnaire package to assess to pilot the usability of the FitBack web page. And here you have some of the answers given by participants in the study. And yeah, we have the general question was using this web page is, because we ran this questionnaire just after the participation of the teachers in our multiplier sport events in the different countries. And so in the first graph, I'm sorry, I'm going, this is for Boyan maybe, I'm going just to present descriptive, very simple data to avoid any statistical complication that is not in my skill. No, it is a little bit. Okay, poor, great, and you can see here that yeah, the majority of participants was evaluating very good their experience in using the web page, and the same, they were grading useful their very short experience in using the web page. And again, using this page is difficult, easy, counterintuitive, intuitive. And yes, it is very easy to see how was the distribution of participants in the sample. It seems that we are doing something well organized. And another question, using this page is disappointing, satisfying? And here 1.7 the scale again, and the great majority of participants were thinking that it was satisfying, something that could be easy, useful, and satisfying, I repeat. And here again, some usability aspects. This is crucial in any evaluation of a web page usability. And so, and here the scale was 1 to 5. So look at the overall usability. It was 4.3. That is a very high value. Very high, and with a very low standard deviation, by the way. And it was about the content, the organization and readability of the page. It was about navigation and links, the interface design, and we know that we can improve something here in the next future by using, for example, more colors and so on, and about performance and effectiveness. And again, some qualitative feedback. And here there are some comments coming from participants. There are not confusing words, phrases, information or functions. And we receive also a couple of very interesting suggestions. The first one is about by adopting children, adolescent perspective to include more pictures and to make more attractive for students the use of the web page. And this was part of one of the previous communication speeches, creating an app for the students, because this is not the future, it is the present, by controlling what is happening on your mobile, on our mobile. And we run also a very simple assessment of the events themselves by using, we use SurveyMonkey as the instrument, and it was very easy to do this. And this is my, these are my last numbers today. And the total, the total assessment, it was 106 teachers, PE teachers. Considering your overall experience, how likely are you to recommend this event to your colleagues? And having an answer with teachers, I repeat. And working with teachers, teaching to teachers is often complicated. Having this kind of answer, 6.7 on 7, is something, in my opinion, close to unbelievable. And here we have what did you particularly like about this event? And these are the comments coming from participants. Future perspective, applicability, web page usability, the possibility to share with colleagues. And this is my last slide. It's incredible, Gregor. Because I'm Italian. This is the reason why it is incredible. But before to present the last slide, I have to thanks a lot, Alessandra Colangelo and Gianpaolo Santi. We are sitting here. I don't have a final slide with beautiful pictures and so on, but yeah, without their work, it was absolutely impossible to create this report for the project. So thanks a lot, Alessandra and Gianpaolo. And any other comments? Teachers are asking to be prepared to do this, to have, for example, more time for knowing how to enter data, how to manage data, and so on, more time for going more in depth on same topics about fitness testing, about what to use, and so on. And the two final comments in green and blue, just do it again. And this is, again, absolutely important, because usually at the end of the event with teacher, the comment is, where is the practical? Where is the practicum? And keep on going. And I think that this is also our message, Gregor, for going on with the project to do more with more people. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Attilio. Now we will move to next or final part, and this is legacy. So actually, I will introduce you a colleague from Germany, Katja Klemm. She's from Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, Institute of Sport and Sports Science, Germany. Katja is project coordinator for more data and fitness barometer projects and their institute, and she came in FitBack network in past year, few months ago. So actually she already is a legacy of our project, and also a few other members joined FitBack network, and this meeting is also about this. So we are open for new members, we are open to share the knowledge, but Katja will actually present us one of possible direction of sustainability of FitBack data collected based to the infrastructure they created on their institute. So Katja, please, floor is yours. I have to find your last one. Okay. Yeah, I see. Great.
So, surprise, I'm also on the floor. I'm Tanja and I'm PhD in the project, and together with Katja, we are very happy to present you our MORI data project right now. MORI data is a motor research data repository And yeah, just to give you a quick overview, what's good. We are from Germany, from the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, and the project is based on the Institute of Sports and Sports Science. And there we are a competence center of motor tests, having more than 29 test batteries that are assigned to our institute. For example, the German motor test 6 to 18, which is mainly designed for children and adolescents, or the European fitness badge, which is designed for adults. And yeah, as you can see, we have these test batteries all around the world conducted and disseminated. And this leads us to a great amount of data in motor tests. So for example, we have the MOMO study, which is conducted since 2003. And this is a longitudinal study with more than 20,000 participants, and therefore with a great amount of data in motor research, especially in motor test items. So also we have the German motor test, which is integrated in school examinations or in a federal state. And in Baden-Württemberg, we have the fitness barometer published on base of motor data. And within our institute, we have more than 200,000 data in motor research, especially in motor test items. And this leads us to the background why we have the idea of MORI data. So already having this great amount of data and always collecting even more, there is the big substantial question, what happens with the data if the project ends? Not every project ends, but mainly every time comes the end. And there are a way of two possibilities. On the one side, there's kind of lost data. So we once collected them, analyzing them, and it's stored on our computer and never touched again. So it just lies there and yeah, nothing ever happens. And on the other side, we have a sense of open data approach. And this is where we want to join with MORI data. The data get reused, it's published for everyone, and everyone can make new research with them, like comparisons or norm values. So what you need therefore is an e-research infrastructure, especially in this field of data. So motor research data, and this is where MORI data stands for. Motor research data is publishing data of motor test items, for example, standing long jump, like you can see here, or 6-minute endurance run. And Katja will introduce you right now what different possibilities are there for different uses in MORI data.
Thank you, Tanja. Yeah, so now you heard why we have MORI data. And what about the functions? Because it's, yeah, it sounds repository. Maybe no one heard before of it. I didn't hear before it. I joined the project. So what are the functions of MORI data? So Tanja introduced you to the data sets we have, and they come into MORI data as an online platform, a repository. And in MORI data, we have those functions. At first of all, researchers and also teachers can store their data sets there, so they have like an archive there. Second, you can produce a DOI, a digital object identifier, as you have for your papers you publish. It's the same for data sets, so you can refer to them in papers, etc. And you publish your data sets, so everyone can use it with reference to your work. So if you use the data set of someone else, you can refer to it, and so the data set gets more and more seen. And last but not least, we have the reusage of the data. As I said, another researcher or maybe also a teacher can have a look at MORI data for probably standing long jump from 11-year-old children, have a look into the platform and see the results of data sets that include this test item as standing long jump. So it's a platform for practitioners and also for the scientific world as all. So that are the functions. And now how to use the short process of how using Mori data. So the researcher uploads his or her data, including metadata, like when does it, where the tests were, and who did the test and who belongs the data set. And then this data is automatically checked with different quality aspects. If there are any questions about these, we can do it in the lunch break or something. And then we have a two persons editorial board, and they check it again for quality check, which doesn't work automized, so that at least two people have a look if there is personalized data or something in the data set, no more personalized data set. And on the last step, this data set is archived and gets published with a DOI. In between these steps, there are always possible rechecks, and so the person who brings the data set, he can revision and upload again if there's some missing data or some personal data still integrated or something like that. So Mori Data is a project. It was established in 2014 to 2016. So we had also a funding, national funding, and but the aim was to establish it internationally. And so this was the first funding phase. And since last year, we have the second funding phase for relaunch and make it more usable. Yeah, people of you who work at European projects or projects, they probably know that establishing a project in between 3 years is very small. And I heard FitBack also got a new or applied for a new project phase. So we have now the second project phase, and we want to have a nicely platform, as said, and as to be said, and more useful platform. So we plan to have a relaunch in end of summer, autumn, hopefully, and just some insights. It's not the final design, it's just to have some insights what's possible. Like a researcher has this overview about his or her data sets, and maybe also interesting for you, here's the mapping, like every researcher has his own naming of test items, one say standing long jump or one say SLG in their data set, whatever. And here you can map it so the computer program automatically recognize which test item you uploaded. And a short look into the metadata, what's possible to type in so that it's visible which is your data set and what happened during testing. And all of this, like Mori Data, and why we heard it before, the data management plan, we heard it before. So Mori Data is part of this data management. Like you maybe notice, you have a, it's very short version, so it's not complete. You have a new project, a new description, you collect the data, you organize the data, you analyze the data, and then what happens then? You store and share it, and so it's possible to use for others and maybe follow other questions you can't because you haven't got the time or money, etc. So that's really a short introduction in Mori Data. Thank you.
Thanks, Katja and Tanja. So really interesting, and I already have some questions, but since we are somehow behind our program, my suggestion is to stop at this moment, go to lunch, and then 14:45 we are continuing, and then we will have also discussion on previously presented topics. So have a good time lunching and also discussing about the topics and also about the weather, etc. See you later. Bye. Gregor.